Oh, man. The whole point is to share it on here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Embarrass the shit out of yourself.
Keep the conversation, as random as possible.
And you're doing a fine job on your end.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of StarrDumB right here on JG's Lounge. I'm your host, Jukebox. And right next to me, we got a return guest, Sean. Man, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. Happy to be back. Always have fun doing these things, and just something I look forward to every time.
And when I took my break, you kept kind of coaxing me that, hey, man, don't stop it. Don't stop it. You're doing a good job. And I really appreciate that. I do enjoy doing this. So.
Oh, absolutely, man. Look, dude, when you see people out there that are very talented in a specific, whatever it is that they're doing, I don't care if they're an author or a dancer, singer, whatever. We all hit the struggle bus sometimes. It's nice to have somebody come along, poke you with a sharp stick and go, come on, dude,
Yeah. And I appreciate that too. And things are going really well too, especially I did need the break. Don't get me wrong, because it kind of gave me a new focus on how I want to tackle, JG's Lounge and these shows that I do. And I think it's got a good footing. I've got a lot of good things that are in the works. So thank you again. And Stan Ev.O.Lution. Ev.O.Lution is coming to the show today, guys. He's a new guest on StarrDumB, and he's going to be seen on JG's Lounge a lot more going forward. So Ev.O.Lution, why don't you introduce yourself, man?
Hey, everybody. Good to be here. Name's Ev.O.Lution. Want to say hello to all my people in the Philippines that may be tuned in right now. Just glad to be here. I am having some difficulty hearing you. Do I need to get my headphones going?
If you plug in headphones, you're gonna have issues because you won't have a mic hooked up to the headphones. So then you're not gonna be able to talk. You'll just hear.
All right,
is your volume down?
I don't know what happened. It went really low on the volume. So,
Sean, are you having issues hearing me?
No, man, I can hear you both fine. And actually, Ev.O.Lution, now that you're stabilized, you're not really lagging too much.
Yeah. So you're having issues hearing both of us?
Maybe I need to speak at a level like I'm in a foreign country trying to make somebody understand English. Yell it at them, they'll understand.
It's all good. Hey, people, this is why the internet is so wonderful. Two of the three of us can hear fine, and then you got Stan over here struggling.
Hard to get. I mean, let's be honest, man. It's hard to get frustrated because it's such a first world problem to shake our fist at the sky at these devices that allow us to talk to one another from hundreds of miles away in real time. Right?
Oh yeah.
Hey, let me hop out and come back in. How's that?
That's fine. We're here. Oh man, yeah. No, he's in the works with getting a laptop. He already got the mic and the green screen. He's like ready to go.
All right.
But he needs a laptop. And I was like, look, man, you got to get a laptop or else it's just not going to be the same quality that you need.
Yep. No, so I love everything that you're doing, man. I think it's fantastic. And being an aggregator of talent, that's just putting good out into the world. I'm all about that, man. I'm all about people utilizing their talents to push this kind of thing, because the more that we're supporting each other and making things better because there's so much darkness around. I mean, there's
there he is. Hey, can you hear us now?
Yep. I can hear you now. Everything sounds good.
Excellent.
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
Hey, I'm the host of the show, and I've had issues with audio and video, so it happens, man.
That's right. That's right.
And you just, the best way to do shows, especially live shows like this, is to just roll with it. Yeah.
There you go.
When you're live, there's nothing you can do, and if you do start worrying about it, it just throws the whole show off. So it's like you roll with the punches, and you just keep going.
Amen, bro.
So I do actually have a topic for today, but before that, I have a trending subject that I would like to just kind of throw out there, mostly because this is all over the news right now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Snapchat, but the AI went rogue, guys. Are any of you familiar with Snapchat?
Heard of it a couple times.
Are you familiar with this new AI feature that it has?
Not familiar with the AI. I know that Snapchat is like the tawdry underbelly of, connecting platforms, just a little bit above 4chan, I would think.
So anybody that has a Snapchat profile now has this My AI character. Like, here's mine. You can custom make them and everything. I made mine look like the devil. I named him Lucy. But basically what happened is it's supposed to be there. So like if you are looking for something or something to do, you can just message it and it's like linked to Google. So it'll find, restaurants or something. You just ask it. Or if you just want to have a random conversation, it's supposed to be there and just kind of talk to you. Well, it had a glitch where it actually posted to its story. It posted an image to its story, which is not AI. The AI is not supposed to do this. And it looks like the corner of a wall or a ceiling.
Right.
But I wanted to talk about this today, not just because it's sort of a trending topic, but because AI is now taking over a lot of things. And in my opinion, I think it's learning too fast. So it's adapting. And Snapchat hasn't came back with a story for this. This happened 2 nights ago. They've had no reaction to it. They haven't told the news anything about it yet. They're still trying to figure it out. So
Ev.O.Lution, you want to go? Because I'm going to have to crack the old knuckles and get ready for my response on this one. I got some definite opinions.
I got to go to all of the AI movies and stuff that I watch. I'm a big movie watcher, and nothing is good about AI when it comes to it doing what it's supposed to do. It actually evolves so fast that it ends up having its own thought process and doing whatever the heck it wants to do.
Right.
So, I mean, it to me is kind of doing what it's supposed to do off of everything that I've known about it in the past. So I'm really not surprised.
Yeah. No, and honestly, neither am I. Everybody's freaking out and like confused about it. And in my opinion, you've got millions of people using an app, and all of these AIs are basically linked together. So why would it not adapt that fast?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's programmed to do that, right?
Yeah. Sean, what do you got, man?
Thank you. I appreciate the starting bell. All right. Now, on the podcast, I can't remember. Are we family clean, or can we just speak our mind?
No, this is a speak your mind show. You can be explicit.
Dude, what the fuck are we doing? Like, seriously, what the fuck are we doing? Have we not seen Terminator? Art reflects society. It always has. Okay. And there, oh my God. First of all, I teach at 2 colleges, right? And one of the things I start out the semester with is I tell my kids, I go, do not use ChatGPT. They have checkers for it anyway. I said, but there is just something about the writing that comes from a person. There's like, if you want to get theological in things, you could say the human soul, right? There's just something about a person's soul that is in their words, and the way that they talk, it comes through the way they communicate. And I said, I will be able to see, your peers will be able to see, and you're letting it think for you. You're basically giving up your humanity to this engine that is churning out derivative pieces from it's all plagiarism. They're like, it's just creating stuff. It's like, nah, bro, it is derivative of everything that it is studying to create things. Not to mention, let's talk about in Japan, where those robots went batshit in that lab and killed a whole bunch of people. And then one used a satellite to learn to rebuild itself. Terminator, guys, freaking Terminator. Armies of robot dogs everywhere. This isn't conspiracy theory. We're watching it happen.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that wasn't there one of the robots from like the GM factory or the BMW factory in Germany or something like that completely just smashed one of the workers. And they said, it's not supposed to do that. Well, when you're programming these things to learn,
exactly. Well, what was the thing that Ev.O.Lution? Did you see that video where they had the one robot working in an Amazon warehouse, and it was just picking stuff up and putting it on shelves, picking up stuff, and after I think it was like 15 minutes, they're positing that it just was like the futility of all of this, and was so it just shut itself down. Like you see the video, and the thing just collapses to the floor.
No, I didn't see it, but it kind of makes sense because if it's learning that fast, it's probably picking up the attitude that we have every day.
I want my 15.
Well, they all get breaks. Where's mine?
Exactly.
That's good.
There's robots out there vaping is doing his like, God dang it, supervisor's an asshole.
Oh my God.
Okay, yeah, and that's the funny thing is that, and this is going to start to kind of get into the topic for today, is that these AIs are linked, like this social media Snapchat one is like, it's linked to everybody. Now there's a lot of similarities between people. Now, and like you and I've talked to both of you, but you guys don't know who each other is. But there's a lot of things that we do in common, right? That everybody does during the day. That's pretty common. And I wanted to touch base on that and see what all we can connect on. How's that sound?
All right.
All right. First up, turning down the car volume so that you can see better.
That happens when it's raining. That happens when it's raining. I don't know why, but when it's raining hard and you're trying to focus, or at least when I'm trying to focus, I tend to turn the volume down for some real reason.
When I have my GPS on and I'm getting near the location I need to be at, I will turn the volume down so I can see addresses and where I'm going.
Yes, 100% yes. You guys know who Daredevil is, right?
Yeah.
Lost so he can hear so well, he sees blah 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 blah. There's actually a theory behind that whole thing that because all of us do it, I think, pretty much, is that if we have all this sensory information coming in, it's like messing with us. So we turn down the volume so we can tune it. It's like this goes down, this goes up, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Now whether it's a fact or not, I don't know, but
yeah,
I agree with that because I'm kind of thinking about somebody who's like blind. They pick up extra senses in other areas so they can move around or whatever, or just function.
So you're saying farts smell worse to a blind person? Damn.
Yes.
They'd probably, even if you're in a crowd, they probably know exactly who did it too.
She dealt it.
It's good. Probably pick out what you ate for lunch.
Oh my God, dude! I've got a funny story about that. If you want to hear it,
yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so back when I was in high school, there were a couple kids I knew on the baseball team, and they were sitting in the dugout during practice, and one of them, farted, and they, everybody giggled a little bit, and then his friend sitting next to him goes, "Popcorn?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's what I had this morning."
Yeah,
there you go.
That's funny. That's good. Yeah, you never, people say it smells like roses. I don't think I've ever smelled a fart that smells like roses.
Yeah. Can't say that I
have. All right, next up. Staying up later than you should to watch one more episode.
You go ahead first, sir.
Go ahead, Sean. You kick this one off.
That is one of the greatest lies we tell ourselves, is just one more, right? Just one more. I would throw this back to you guys. I know in my younger days, before, I had a whole bunch more responsibility, I was an avid World of Warcraft player.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Nerd. I get it. Yeah. Right. But the thing was, you would do this thing where it was just like, just one more raid, just one more thing. And there were some weekends when I realized, honestly, I thought it did become a problem where I would look at the clock. I had started playing on Friday night and it was Monday morning at like 7 a.m. and I had to go to work because it was that just one more thing. And it just rolled into like my whole weekend was gone. Right.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, with the hustle of everyday life nowadays, like being able to sit down and watch a show and just tune out from reality for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's a relief, but at the same time, it'll get you, man, because you're like, okay, you're just enjoying it too much, just relaxing and not thinking about anything, not doing anything. But sometimes I'll be up till 3 or 4 in the morning and have to be at work at 7. It's like, but I know we all do it. And I'm sure Ev.O.Lution, I'm sure you can agree.
I'm absolutely guilty of that. In fact, I did it last night. My son and I was watching the Upshaws, and we just kept hitting one episode after the other. Once it gets good, you just gotta roll with it, right?
Yeah.
I can sleep later.
What show did you say it was?
The Upshaws.
What's it about?
It's a Netflix special. With Mike Epps and the comedian. Shoot, I should know her name. I know her name. I can't think of it. Okay. But it's the other shows. Google it. Okay. But it's on Netflix and it's a family show. Really funny. A lot of humor.
I mean, I like Mike Epps, so I imagine it's probably pretty humorous.
There was I can't remember the platform, but wasn't Epps a fighting game?
What was that?
Wasn't there a fighting game that Epps was one of the characters? It had like, oh my God.
I don't know.
You just hit a core memory from about probably 15 years ago. I swear Epps was one of the characters. It's like you build up, it was like backyard hood junkyard fighting, and like you buy more bling or drip or whatever it's called nowadays. And oh my God, man, I swear
this is a game.
Yeah, it was a fighting game. It was a platform fighting game.
Nope, no clue.
Don't remember that, but I do remember Wanda Sykes and Kim Fields playing it also.
Okay, all right. Well, and even Wanda's pretty funny too, so that's good.
Yeah, Kim Fields is cool, man.
All right. Next up, here we go. Looking in the trash for the recipe you just threw away.
No, don't do that.
No?
No.
Man, I do it all the time.
Wait, I might call BS on this though, Ev.O.Lution. Now hold on. You have a box meal. This is like macaroni and cheese or something, and you toss the box and you're like, shit, was that 1 or 2 cups?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm guilty.
I knew it.
Did that before, yes.
I think this is something that everybody's done at least once. I know I do it pretty frequently.
I same spot, brother.
And see, for me, it's not necessarily that it's because I'll take like 3 things. I'll take a box meal, I'll take some meat, and then I'll try to adapt it my own way. But there's always that part of the instructions on the box that you have to follow. And I'll just like toss the stuff in the boiling water and get rid of the box. And then when it's time to drain the water or something, I'll be like, wait, what was I supposed to do next?
Right.
Well, yeah, I think Sean's reading me like an open book here.
Hey, bro, it's human, man. That's the thing we forget. We're all human. That's why, like, when you say these things you're bringing up, I'm just like, it's like the through line of humanity. Like it's so funny. I was just having this conversation with one of the club owners at the comedy club yesterday about how we're so focused on these divisive things. It's like, if you step back and look at all of us, man, we're basically the same animal, running around this planet. We have so many sames that the small stuff that they make so big, because it's just like every one of these that we're reading, it just makes me laugh because it's like, yeah, I know we all do it.
Yeah. And that's actually part of why I picked this topic, evolution, you know, this being your first time on this show, it's all about just being able to talk to other people. And I think there's a barrier that a lot of podcasters have that I know of, is that they don't want to reach out to guests because they're worried about the reaction or if they're going to link up or not. And it's like, there's a lot of similarities between people. It's not hard to, you know, to realize that if we just take a step back, like Sean said.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, we all pretty much are constructed the same way. You know, if I touch something hot, I'm gonna jump back like everybody else.
Right.
You know, to me, it's just basic principles of life. You know.
Yeah. You can't expect everybody to get along. One of these days, I'm gonna have a guest on, and I'm just gonna piss off, and they're gonna jump off. You know, they're just gonna end the show, and then I'm just gonna rant about them the rest of the show. But you know, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen at some point.
There's always one. There's always one.
You know what though, man, dude? Like, here's the thing, and this is just my theory on stuff, but I think all this anger that's being fomented out there, that so many people jump on that train right away instead of, you know, trying to just like be human together. If you look behind things, because we don't do that, it's all surface stuff. You know, we see the headline. I know what my opinion is now. It's like, it's hurt. Hurt is behind so much of the anger that we have out there. If we understand that about things, I think it would dial us into each other a lot more. I had a student of mine, because one of the week's topics that I have in class is, you know, comedy and humor writing. And one of the discussion questions is, where's the line? Like, what's the thing that you say you can't make fun of that? And one of my students, I loved her to death. Her name's Jenna. And she said, well, people can't make fun of LGBTQ plus stuff. I said, okay, so that's your line. She said, yep. I said, so when you're with your LGBTQ plus friends, I said, and you're all sitting around joking, I said, do you make jokes about the LGBTQ plus community? And she's like, oh yeah, we rip on each other all the time. And I just kind of stared at her for a second. She goes, oh. And I go, exactly. I said, you can joke about it. I said, what you get mad about is that when people do it with the intention of harm, I said, you get mad because it hurts your friends. I said, so what does that tell you? She's like, well, it's the hurt. I go, exactly. So what does that tell you about you? You're a good person and you care about other people. Yeah. So that's where it's coming from. You're not mad about the subject. You're mad that it's hurting people. So then where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Strong point, Sean. Also, I want to hit that from another angle, because I think people carry weight around, a frustration, and the people that they really need to be vocalizing their frustration to, they don't. So the innocent person that they, I guess, the straw that breaks the camel's back, something small, something tiny, they just blow up on the other person that has nothing to do with their frustration.
Right.
So I see a lot of that going on too, outside of the actual example that you brought up.
Yeah, of course. And
That's
I'm,
great, dude.
You know, and my name Jukebox Ginger. Like, to me, the name Ginger is funny. I'm a ginger, so I talk crap about me being a ginger all the time. But I actually have a ginger friend who doesn't like being called ginger, and it's like, all right, cool, man. You know, whatever. Because in his mind, it's people making fun of him because of his hair color, and I'm like, that's not really something to be made fun of. But you know, hey, who am I to judge that, right? So
we all have our uniqueness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess it comes down to, here's a question. I mean, it's like, I know your friend gets upset with that, but then you want to be sensitive to people, because it's like you said, evolution, you know, everybody's carrying weight. And if you're living a life that is one that's not putting kindness and goodness out in the world, you can break the person's back, like that straw you're talking about. But at the same time, it's like, how much do we have to buy into somebody else's trigger mechanisms? You know, like if somebody called me whatever thing, you know, they call me, you know, stupid white kid. It's like, okay, well, you're talking to 2/3 of me. All right. Because you don't know all of me. It's like 1/3 of me is like straight up Native American, right? Couldn't tell it. Right. But do I get offended by that? No, I don't care. I don't care, because that's me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But, for somebody else, they might get triggered by something that would come in. But it's like, man, how much do we play into this? Or do we I don't know, man. It's just, I feel like we've become too overly sensitive and too quick to want to be triggered. But at the same time, there's this other layer where it's like people need to be kind.
Yeah.
Overall. So where's that middle ground with this stuff?
G-Box, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say on the subject because my mindset isn't to really, I just like to talk to people. And that's only because I don't really have that. I don't have that trigger. Like Sean was saying, I don't have that trigger, but I don't have issues talking to anybody either. I grew up, with a pretty diverse family. And so I've never seen a lot of that hate, and so I don't have it. I know that it exists because I see it in today's world, but I don't let that reflect on how I should verbalize. And if I do say something, believe me, I'm pretty sure I've done it before that I just can't think of. And I've upset somebody, but I correct it. It's like, hey, my bad. And that's it. That's the conversation. It doesn't go past that. I'm not like, well, why are you being like this? Well, why is that triggering you? Like I'm not going to sit here and drill at you about something that I don't understand.
I think it's a level of maturity or intellect. Because fortunately, when I was younger, I had the opportunity to talk to every single type of person, every single background, and just try to understand who they are, where they're from, as much as I can about them, and express everything that was important to me. And even when, I went to other countries, to visit other backgrounds or whatnot, it's beneficial, to see where people are from and see what's important, what's good. And more importantly, I guess, to see how they do things, what I mean? I guess if people get outside their shell and go find out the beauty of other backgrounds and other people, I think once they do that, then they'll be like, dude, this is incredible,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question I'll throw at you guys, because I mean, this has everything to do with the AI stuff we're talking about. But it has, and this is something I think on a lot, but I ask people a lot, is the things that we define ourselves with, culture, color, whatever, does that actually have anything to do with who we actually are? I'm talking like the deep, we shed this mortal coil, go off, and I fly off to whatever, Anthrax 12 planet, wherever we came from. As my soul or what energy is leaving my body, do you think I'm going to be, like, I was a comic?
No.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, this is why when I'm talking about the humanity, you bring these questions up. I was like, man, this is such good fruit.
Yes.
Good food, man.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is what we are. It's not all this other stuff. It's this stuff.
Well, and at the end of the day, let's say that the president jumped on the news, or all the world leaders jumped on the news and said, hey, there's a meteor coming in the next hour. We're all dead. Do you think that's going to be on people's minds? I mean, the color, what's your background, where you're from? No, everybody's going to be like, let's get together. This is our last hour together. Let's get together,
Amen, man.
Absolutely. I mean, it does bring a lot of focus to one's mindset.
Yeah. I mean, because all that extra, it's just all that extra is gone. Because now it's like, okay, here's the focus. We got 1 hour.
Yep. That removes all the clutter.
Return of the Critic says, I am the president. Thanks, man.
Great point, Jukebox. That's a great point, dude.
Right. Yeah, no, it's that's why these simple things, although they're comical during the show, there's a lot more to it,
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, let's get the next one out of the way here.
Right.
It says dancing while you're alone.
Ooh.
I definitely do this, especially when I have the house to myself. If I get off work early and my wife's out shopping with the kids or something, I'll just blast some music and dance around the house, you know.
I think that's good therapy.
Yeah.
I do it a lot. Don't get the opportunity to be by myself in the house that much.
Yeah.
But when it does happen, definitely I dance.
I think therapy is a perfect word for it too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, what do you think?
Oh, dude, please, of course, absolutely. it in the house. I was at the comedy club the other day, and I was staining some wood that were put on the shelves, and I was pelvic thrusting in the middle of the floor, and I had like painters that were working on the ceiling, and I know they're just looking down on me, but I didn't care. I just.
Do you guys have a secret genre or secret band that is like a pleasure that you guys don't typically play around other people, that you play when you're alone?
I'll let you go first, Sean. I got to think.
Not okay. So I have very eclectic taste, man. I'm all over the place. But what I typically don't play around other people is I am a huge fan of Clint Black. Man, I don't know what it is about that guy, but man, his voice, you know, and just his songs, excellent stuff. And it's not like I'm embarrassed about it. It's just typically, you know, I'm listening to anywhere from like Pantera to, you know, Metallica and other things, but that is definitely in my library, 100%.
You know, yeah, and for me, it's I love the saxophone. And there's not a lot. And actually, if I was to play an instrument, that's what it would be. But smooth jazz, there's something about that saxophone that just hits me, man. So and I love heavy metal. When I'm around people, it's usually rock, alternative, punk, you know, whatever. But it's usually more upbeat music. But when I'm by myself, man, I can tune out to a saxophone, man.
Well, I can really relate, Jukebox, because even though I'm not ashamed of it, I love jazz, but I typically don't play jazz around people. That's like my music during my time, you know, to unwind and, you know, just relax. But usually when other people are around, you know, I play different types of music. But for me personally, jazz is my comfort zone.
Okay, you like the saxophone. Have you ever heard of Dave Brubeck?
No.
Okay. There's a song called Take 5, and it became quite famous because of the movie Sideways, that wine drinking movie. I can't remember the two guys, but
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, that. So you like saxophone, man? Check out Dave Brubeck, Take 5. That is some of the dude. You like jazz, Ev.O.Lution? Check out Dave Brubeck. Solid.
Absolutely,
solid.
I will.
It looks like you should be doing your taxes, but I'm telling you. The guy's got
chops. Okay. Return of the Critic says Kenny G, baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, again, these are things that we all have. We all have these things that we want or that we need that are pretty much across the board wherever you live. Our mindsets are just kind of wired that way. You know, these little things, such as faking plans to get out of things. Now, I do this more often than not, mostly because honestly, I might seem social on here, but honestly, it's nice to get away from the social, you know, the social interaction. And there's so much of it these days. Everybody's wanting to go out and do stuff. And I think COVID might have had something to do with that, because now it's like ramped up even more. But for me, go to work, come home, relax. Like, that's my mindset anymore. And this is relaxing for me. I can, you know, I'd rather come home and do this than go to a bar. Like, it's just not my scene anymore.
You got something for that?
Well, I'll take that next step further. You know, who in this group right here gets so thrilled when there's plans coming that you made like a week ago, and then the person calls up, I got this thing, I can't do this stuff, and you're just like, you know, you're just so relieved, and you don't have to go. Yeah, you don't have to go out and do anything. Like, Oh man, that's it's the goal. I love that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, man. Well, and that's one of those things where it's like when you're making the plans, you're like, man, can I really do this? Like, do I want to do this? And then you agree to it, and the whole time leading up to it, you're like, damn it, I gotta go do this. And then that, oh man, I can't go. And then you secretly, dude, that sucks, man. And it's really sucks. But in the back of your mind, you're like, yes,
you're relieved.
Well, here's the thing too. It's like Ev.O.Lution, you're going to be breaking on this podcast and everything. Jukebox, you're doing this stuff. I do the stand up and the teaching and all things. So we're all doing things where we're putting energy out into the world and this peopling, so to speak. We all, I mean, I got a very good friend of mine. His name's Kevin. He's got a social battery that could light up the sun, as much energy as this extrovert has got. But he even has his limits of doing things. And I think that's kind of where it is. I mean, we all three of us are involved in doing public stuff, but there's a point where it's just like, man, you've got to pull away and take a knee, and so that for everybody. And that's what makes this make sense, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, we all need our connection to people, but also we need our me time. You know what I mean? That's very helpful for everybody, I think. And yeah, I'm guilty of that as well. I'll make appointments and plan on meeting with people. And then when they cancel, I'm like, yes. Or on the other end of the spectrum, I've been offered to go somewhere and I'm like, not really feeling it,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it on both ends. But yeah, we definitely need to have a moment, just to kick back and do nothing, to free ourselves and just get away. I think that's especially for people that do stuff all the time, like ourselves.
Yeah.
That we do stuff for the public, we do stuff for family, we do stuff, for friends.
Right.
We just need that moment, to be like, dude, just get away.
Yeah. And just be yourself. It's funny. My wife is taking the kids to a craft fair at a theme park in October with one of the neighbors, and I was like, sweet, whatever. And she's like, you're gonna love it so much. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do anything, and it's gonna be wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's that thing where it's like, I'll probably do some house chores, but even that's like going to be at my own time. It's like I'm not going to feel that rush or nothing. It'll be just chill out, get some stuff done, and probably do a bunch of these.
Now, okay, so this is a question for you guys. Do you, because we're busy guys doing things, right? Do you have those moments when? Because I had one, my summer semester ended at the college, and I turned in all my grades and everything for the kids. And I had a son, and Sundays are typically my grading days. And I didn't have anything to do with the club, nothing. And I'm just sitting around the house, and I'm tense because it's like, I've got to be doing something. There has to be something. And it freaked me out. And it's almost like I've forgotten how to relax. And when you said, I'm not going to do anything. It's just like, do you guys get that where when you actually have this thing called free time, like there's either a fear that you're not doing something you're supposed to, or a guilt that you should be doing something?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Being doing the job that I do now, working, sometimes 50 to 60 hour weeks, and then scheduling shows, and then coming home and being a father and a husband, and then your house chores, your appointments and stuff. And that's, weeks bleed into months, and you start forgetting what day it is. And, it's so, yeah, it's 100% agree that there's those breaking points when you actually get that time to just relax, that you're like, no, there's something I'm forgetting.
There's things that were said in the past. I don't want to quote them because I might get it wrong, but it's just like, if I'm not doing this, then I'm missing out on something else.
Right.
So if I feel like there's some downtime, yeah, I get the thought process sometimes, and I'm like, what could I be doing right now instead of nothing, or just relaxing. There's something I could be doing to be more productive, or yeah, I definitely get that.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. All right, you guys ready for the next one?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. Pretending to text while taking a picture.
Ooh, this one can get you in trouble, man.
I've got a good example. Okay, I'll start with my example. I was sitting at the DMV, and I don't know when the last time you guys have been at a DMV. It goes very smooth and very fast. I'm not being sarcastic at all. But when you're sitting there for 45 to 2.5 hours, and you're watching the crowd in the waiting room, I don't know about you guys, but I like to sit there and I'll try to read the crowd and I'll read the people. And now with phones such as Snapchat, they have filters on the cameras. And I remember last time I was at DMV, it was close to Thanksgiving, and it put turkey heads on people. So I was sitting there. I was sitting in this waiting room, and I was Snapchatting with my wife, and I was sending her pictures of people with turkey heads in the waiting room, but I was making it look like I was texting.
Yeah, I'm sure it didn't look obvious where you had like your phone like this going.
That's actually great use of your time there, Jukebox. At the airport, I'm guilty of that because you see some strange and weird and bizarre stuff at the airport. And I'll give you a good example. I was waiting on my son one day at the airport, and this guy shows up in a Spider-Man costume. And I'm like, dude, I'm seeing things, right? I was like, I got to take a picture of this because nobody's going to believe me. And so I started acting like I was texting, and then I took a snapshot, and I had to show my son. Like, dude, are you serious? Is this really happening? But stuff, I catch the weird and unusual things like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about you, Sean?
I know. I mean, I wouldn't even try to pretend like I haven't done that in the past. I can't think of a specific example, but I do know I've been sneaky with my phone recently, not in a creeper way, but
yeah.
I had this in one of my classes. I had this thing where, in composition, the kids have to learn how to write argument in academic papers, but I don't like traditional teaching. So I try to swerve it a little bit so it makes it interesting. So I took the class, split them right down the middle. I said, all right, you guys, and this was before the government announced that UFOs were real, which we all knew anyway. Nobody cares.
Right.
But I said, this half does not believe in UFOs and you have to argue against it. And I said, this half totally believes in UFOs and you have to argue for their existence. Now, what they didn't tell me was they got the people that were for UFO existence, they got together and they all wore tinfoil hats during the argument. So I had like this side with this cogent, well thought out, articulated, science-based, and you had a row of people with tinfoil hats. And so they're sitting there, I'm just letting them do their thing, right? But I have a monitor on my desk, and I took my phone and just peeked it right over the top, and I snapped a photo. And I told them later that I did, but I just didn't want them looking at me to like ruin the moment. And it's just the greatest photo of them, just like they're all into it. It was so cool.
Well, there's so many ways to take pictures nowadays, man. So being able to capture those moments is I mean, it's something. It really is. Oh, that's good. And actually, that debate sounds like something I would have loved to be a part of. Not the tinfoil hat, but that debate.
It was beautiful, man. And I tell you what, the people that were against, and it was funny because most of them are like, dude, we know UFOs exist. Yeah. But part of argument is you have to, open your mind to the other side so that you can make those arguments, because that helps us understand each other, right?
Right.
That open perspective. But man, they came up with so many great arguments. In another one of my classes in Evolution, your podcast is like sports based, right?
One of them, yes.
One of them. Okay. So you might find this interesting then. I had them debate on pro athletes' salaries being justified or being ridiculous, because, I have a medical background in the past. I'm like, doctors should be getting paid those salaries. Athletes shouldn't. But the people that were for it came up with this beautiful argument. They went through and statistically broke down the average career of certain players, NFL players like linemen and things, and how many years they actually play, and the fact that they got to stack that money in that incredibly short amount of time to last them the rest of their lives, because after that their knees are blown, their backs are blown. There's not really a lot that they can do. And when they brought that up, and that's what I love about argument like that, because you sit there and they come up with this point, you're like, shit, that's a really good justification, like for that specific instance.
Absolutely.
Well, and think about like in the work industry, like what Ev.O.Lution and I do, and what you do, what we retire is like 63, 65 on average. Yeah. I don't see any 65-year-old basketball players or football players.
Right. It's fact.
Yeah. I mean, it will be interesting to see them in their 40s and 50s. You know, I mean, it happens every now and then, depending on what they do, but they're not putting forth effort during the whole competition. You know, it's like little bits and pieces here and there, if they're still active. You know, at that you're a part owner.
Well, yeah. Or an announcer on ESPN, or
Exactly.
Or to your point of what they're doing, I mean, you see a lot of really old golfers, and they're doing fine. Had some asshole on TV called coin collecting a sport the other day. He actually referred to it as the sport of coin collecting, and I'm just like, Jesus, what training do you do for that? It's just like, it's not a sport.
You got to draw that line somewhere.
Right.
100%. I wrestled in high school and in college and beyond and things. That's sport. That is physical, hard competition. Looking at coins,
not so much.
Right.
No.
I do want to throw something out there since we're on the topic of salaries. Okay. Because this was a subject I was actually going to do for today's show, but since we're on the topic at the moment, I want to throw this out there. Influencers, social media influencers, right? There's a lot of them out there, and they all get paid money. Now, this is based off an Instagram post, right? This is Cristiano Ronaldo. He's one of the most world-renowned soccer players. For him to do one post on Instagram, that's how much he averages. That's almost $2.4 million for one post.
Good grief.
Now, I could do that for a living. Like, I could just sit there and make my whole life's whatever I wanted in one day and be totally happy with that. I don't think that that's necessarily fair. I don't think that I mean, as far as the sports side of things go, I get it. Yes, you're well known because you're a good football player around the world or soccer player, but that's just stupid. That's just to post a picture or to talk about a product.
I gotta go here because everything that's structured with the American money supply source, whatever, goes it's built on supply and demand,
right?
And if you build that and build it the right way and develop your fan base and get the good marketing behind you, get the good agents behind you, get on the right team of people who support you and put you out there, you can grow to that. Is it fair? But I mean, that's kind of how the society is set up. The one who does the most or is the most effective in what they do, they're the highest paid. And then when you get that following, I mean, let's use Taylor Swift for an example.
Right.
She's selling out concerts for next year.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, people are struggling to sell out a concert next month. You know what I mean? So it just depends on your fan base and how you build your destiny.
I gotcha. I can see that, but I there's another thing behind that too. Like, if you think about it, that people are getting paid that kind of money for that kind of stuff, And then people complain about the cost of living. So where's the money going? It's going to stuff like that. You know, I mean, that's
absolutely.
the cost of dollar is going, you know, it's almost becoming a useless currency because of the fact that we're just throwing money at things.
Well, I think that's why people are complaining about the cost of things, because they have money, they're making money, they're just spending it in places that doesn't make sense.
Sean, what do you got on this, man?
Well, I think we're conflating quite a few things here. Our poor situation with cost of living and everything else. I mean, agree, this is a portion of it, but it has a lot to do with fiscal policy of, you know, the administrations that we're under. But we also live in a plutocracy where the wealthy are running things too. And I'm straight up libertarian. I don't subscribe to either side. I'm a people person. I'm not a government person. And I think that, you know, those choices that they're making at the top are screwing things up, and it has to do with the Fed. You know, the oil prices, the gas is going up. Why? Are we running out of oil? No, we're not. But it's the speculators that mess the whole thing up for us. I mean, there's a lot of things that mess that up. And yeah, we do have money out there, but you know, when I think it seems particularly egregious when somebody can do a tweet, make $2.4 million, and you know, and I'm a guy that, like, man, I do charity work all the time. I do comedy shows. I'll do stuff for free. You know, I help raise money. I help write grants for nonprofits. Like, I do as much as I can with what time I have. Right. And I see an amount of money like that. And where I'm like with Ev.O.Lution on this, it's like, man, the dude built up his fan base and the supply and demand, he got there. So it's like that, you know, he did that. He got to a point where that, you know, for supply and demand, it justifies it. But there's another side of it where, you know, I know people that are on the struggle bus hard right now. And I'm just thinking, like, man, you give me that 2.4. I'll tell you what, dude, Ronaldo, do 3 tweets, give me the money, and I'm going to go out in the world and I'm going to take that money that you would probably use to build yet another home, and I'm going to take care of probably 400 or 500 families and get some shit straight in the world. And I think that's where the umbrage comes, is like, we see those totals and we look around at everything and go, this isn't right. There's an imbalance here. You know, we need to be taking care of humanity. And this isn't bleeding heart anything. This is just like, when you say fair, I think it's that undercurrent of what's behind this. And it's just the hurt. It hurts us to see this kind of thing, knowing that other people are struggling. Or that, you know, when I go to pay for gas, instead of paying, you know, pre-COVID, pre-administration prices currently, and I'm just talking numbers, I'm not talking ideology.
Yeah.
We went from $1.80 to we're at $4 a gallon. You know, I've got to travel to Detroit tonight to do a show, and that's a 3-hour drive for me each way. Right.
Oof, yeah.
And I look at the money I'm going to make for the show, and I'm not bagging on the money I'm making for the show. It's just like, now it is substantially less than 3 years ago to do something like this, which then cuts into money I'm going to be able to pay for food, to pay for bills and everything else. Right. And then if I don't have those amounts of money, I can't go out and say, go to a restaurant if I want to. And now there's a server out there that would love to have me at that restaurant dropping a big old fat tip. I can't do that now. Right. Because I have to, you know, cloister my little bit so I can take care of my stuff.
Right.
So it's just this thing that reflexes outwardly. And then we see amounts like this, and it's just ridiculous to us.
Now I do have to say, being somebody in the podcasting industry that reaches out to get guests on the show, you get these big name celebrities that cost tons of money to get an hour out of them, you know, and you have to go through their agent. Now, for me, it's like, okay, I get it. I don't want to spend the money for that. But I did see a post that Exhibit, I don't know if you guys are familiar with who the rapper Exhibit is. Oh, yeah. He's like, I don't charge this because I just feel like doing it. It's because I know what I'm worth. You know, so I see both sides. I do. I see both sides of it. I don't have 20 grand to get you on my show for an hour, but I get it. I get what you're saying, man.
Wait, what?
But
All of a sudden, Ev.O.Lution screen goes blank, mine goes blank. Well, no, that's fair though. But okay, so I get that. Like Ronaldo has a specific talent that you can't just duplicate. Like the fact jukebox. I've told you many times before, you have a very specific talent in this, arena. This is why I kept poking you, saying, like, dude, don't just be so quick to, eschew your responsibility to the podcast world, because you're very good at this, right? And people that are good at things and love what they're doing should be doing those things. So and get paid accordingly, because not everybody can do it. I can go on stage for an hour and entertain people whole way through, make them laugh. I mean, there's some that would say not, but most of the people I've entertained, right? But that has taken almost 30 years of just slugging it away in the clubs all over the country to where I can do that now, right? So then I should be paid accordingly. But at the same time, if somebody was going to tell me, hey, Sean, when you go to Detroit tonight, you're going to get paid $5 million. Now, will I take it? Probably.
Yeah.
Right? And by probably, I mean yes. But at the same time, if you ask me, is that fair? I would say no, 100% no.
Right.
No, dude.
I would say that if they do pay you $5 million, I would gladly stand in line to be one of those people that you spread the wealth with.
I got you, Ev.O.Lution.
Oh man, it's good stuff. It's true though, man. I hustle and I work my ass off, and it's getting to a point where I think in the near future it might pay off. But I'm not thinking about it from that mindset. I'm thinking about it from a business standpoint and what I can do to continue to improve. And when it happens, it's just going to happen and it's going to be great. But I've been doing this for 3 years and I haven't really made any money off of it. I had an app that, brought me on as an influencer for a couple months, and then they went bankrupt because they were, throwing too much money out there. It happens, it's cool. It was an opportunity that I loved, but this industry, the podcast world, especially since COVID, has blown up, and a lot of companies are willing to pay for you to just throw an ad on there as long as you have the views. My thing is I don't care so much about the views yet, because they're going to come as I grow. And that's as I grow as a network, as I bring on more shows, it's just naturally going to build itself up to a point where I can just be like, hey, and I can have this, pitch plan to just give to companies, and they can be like, yeah, here's what we're going to pay you. And I might even have the opportunity to be like, no, it's too low. And that'll be a good day, but I'm not worried about that yet.
All right. It's fair, but it's also knowing your worth. It's just like, I get paid a certain amount to teach at the schools that I teach. And, it's because I've gone through years and years of schooling, and I know enough that, I'm going to be providing this teaching that's going to change and shape the future of the students that are in front of me. Right.
Right.
So that has an appreciable value. But I think where people get lost, and this is why that argument, Ev.O.Lution, I was talking about earlier with the salaries, is so contentious, because even though I totally agree, the fact that you can kick a ball into a net through a bunch of other people that are trying to kick at your ankles and fake injuries is a very important and specific talent. Somebody that can go into a human's chest, fix what's going on in there, and make sure that your beloved wife or husband or Mima or whatever, your 5-year-old child, continues to live their life, is vastly more important to the infrastructure of humanity than somebody that can kick a ball. And the fact that we're paying, what is it that Messi's making, $511 billion now down in Florida? And people see that, and it's like, that's Ukraine level money that we're sending over now. Like that, we're giving money to this dude, and I get it, he's popular, but it's like, man, there are people starving 20 minutes from me. And and like I said, I wouldn't bitch about it so much, but I do enough work with charities and things every single day. Like it's something I do every day because I believe that's our responsibility as humans, right?
Right.
So I feel like I have kind of a place to bitch about it and go, you guys are not doing the thing that we should be doing. Nobody should be hurting. We should have like a basic level of people being taken care of, shelter, people should be able to go to school, at least for their undergrad for free. But I'm also for the side of people like you build a business, you should make the big money from it because you built the business, right? It's this weird balance. And I think in this world where it's like this whole, it's all socialism, it's all capitalism. It's like a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll, dude. Like we got to do both and this world will thrive. But it's like we're pushing this way too much and then we're pushing this way too much. And it's like we're not taking care of people. People are being forgotten.
Absolutely, Sean. And I want to actually pinpoint something. You said a lot thus far, but there's something that you haven't spoke on with yourself being a teacher. And all I hear about is teachers are being underpaid since we're talking about money and salaries and whatnot. Hope I'm not getting off the subject.
No, you're good. You're good, man.
When will we stay on subject, Evolution?
So what is your take on that as far as pay for teachers and all that? I mean, I know where I stand. I believe I know where everybody stands, but where do you stand since you are a teacher?
Oh, dude. Okay. So to the colleges that I teach at, I'm very grateful for the work that I've been provided so far.
Right.
But, okay. So this gets into a really sticky kind of subject matter because if you go back to the 1970s and you look at what the average tuition was to go to college, right? And college should be a place, it's just like a lumberjack that takes his axe or her axe to the grindstone. That's all college is for our brains, right? We are building our mental acuity in the overall sense, but also for specificity for like, if jukebox, broadcast, well, both of you guys, because you do the podcast, like if you went to learn broadcast anything, in the general sense, it would help, right?
Right.
So, but back then it was, like $3,000 or something,
right.
for, I don't even know how many semesters. And now, like I made the choice first and foremost. I understand that when I went for my master's, I went to Johns Hopkins, right? And they said yes. So I was like, awesome. But I understood the money that I was putting down, but after the fact, I've got that, degree behind my name. So a lot of universities will look at me, like, hey, well, happy to have you come here because you've got that behind you. But I also have a ton of student debt. And I understood that going in. And I think the problem is at the university level that I'll speak on first is that the pay, even though they have these bloated tuitions, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pay is not reflective of the investment.
Right.
And when you start to get it down to the high school level, it gets worse. And the elementary level, it's even worse. They get paid even less than what I do, right? A lot of times. Not only that, they have to buy their own materials.
Right.
Man, you talk about a screw, dude. Like, oh no, you have to populate you want to have, frilly hoopadoos and all this stuff all over your classroom to entertain your students and make it a rich and nurturing environment for the kids. You have to pay for it. What are you talking about, you state-funded assholes? This is what we pay for.
Right. Exactly.
You have to teach your stuff.
Right. Now, I see both sides of that story because going into the industry and just not, I totally agree that you're underpaid. But going into that field, at least because you said 1970s, right? A lot of people that are going into that field never experienced that. They know how it is today. So when they go into that field, it's because it's a passion that they have that they want to do, right? Yep. So I feel like in one side, it's like, no, I 100% agree you guys are getting underpaid. But then going into it, you have that mindset like, okay, I'm aware that this is not going to be a career choice that's going to make me very profitable financially. But then you weigh out, do I do this because it's something I enjoy doing, or is it because of the money? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Sean, you got this extra thing, the comedy thing, which helps, I'm sure. But again, you hustled to get to where you are, 30 years. So you have that back thing. So a lot of, I in my opinion, these people coming into that industry and want to be teachers need to have that, that second thing that they want to do, or have a spouse that they're with that they know is going to be able to carry them.
I'm just nodding in agreement, dude. I'm waiting to see what Ev.O.Lution's got to say on this.
Yeah. You asked the question.
Yeah.
With everything going the direction it's going, I mean, it blows my mind that $3,000 back in the day, in the 70s, would cover a semester. Now they go up by $3,000 or more every semester. Teachers probably need to get a podcast.
There's something to do.
It's ridiculous where the money's being sent versus where it should go. Mm-hmm. I know, Sean, you mentioned earlier about balancing. It's way off balance completely. When you think of the importance of what teachers do, they teach our youth to grow to adults and run the country in all aspects of that. And when they're severely underpaid and have to use the little bit that they make to get their own supplies and put things in their classroom for the students, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. It's worse than ridiculous. It's like all the important, what's the word I'm looking for? Justifiable things that are credible go out the window when they decide to pay a teacher what they pay them. It's something that should never have ever happened that way. And I know there's been poor attempts actually to fix the problem, but they never seem to come to play, but like you mentioned earlier, Sean, they can always decide to raise gas and oil prices instantly, but they can't decide to raise the pay of a teacher instantly. Right. You know what I mean? And even to add to that, Sean, you also mentioned they send billions of dollars to other countries for whatever reason they deem important. Why not take a portion of that? You know what I mean? Because that's a lot of money. You could take a portion of that and spread it around the teacher community and make things a lot better.
Right.
100%. Man, and you know what is really egregious too, and this drives me freaking nuts, is first of all, our educational system is completely broken. Mm-hmm. Like I spend a good portion of my semesters at the undergraduate level, like reforming how kids think about the craft of writing, because they come into those classes and they hate it because it's a chore. So then I have to create this environment where my kids come out and they're just like, man, I love writing. It's like, yeah, you should love aspects of education, right? Mm-hmm. But we're not teaching the right things. We're teaching people to be good little obedient cogs in a system that had Carlin said, left us behind years ago. And we're not being taught things that we need to be taught. When did you learn about taxes in school? When did you learn about anything? Pythagorean theorem. Fantastic. Take that knowledge down to McDonald's, give them the Pythagorean theorem. Will they hand you a cheeseburger?
No, the homeless guy that's outside will probably come in and start having a conversation with you.
Yeah, seriously, dude. It's like it's so broken. And then we have schools where it's a tax-based issue. Mm-hmm. So, and in the area that I live now, like we have a really well-funded school because we got a lot of that country farmer money being poured into it, and they vote, taxes to supply. So this school is like a blue ribbon school, right?
Right.
I also lived in South Bend in the Triangle of Death. That's what the news called it because it was rough, right? And the school that was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 blocks from me, just the worst conditions, and it's like your evolution, like you're saying, dude, if you took a portion of that money, if we sent 5 billion over there, you know what, give us a pittance of $1 billion, just shave off that 1 billion for us, bring it back into the school systems here and build those schools up, because you know what that's going to do? It's going to provide current textbooks, God willing that they would have proper, information in them. It will build up the infrastructure. And what does that tell those kids? It tells them you matter.
Right.
And when we keep from them and we take from them, they grow up thinking I don't matter. And if I don't matter, it's a perpetuating thing. I don't matter, then you don't matter. And now we have a society where I'll cut you off in traffic. I'll shoot you and take your stuff. I'll be rude to you because if I don't matter, you don't matter. We have to pour into our youth, and we also have to pour into our adults. Because here's the fucked up thing, dude. Mm-hmm. Think about this. Evolution, Juke, all of us, we are just giant toddlers. We were all kids once. We're just bigger versions of it. So when did we stop mattering? We didn't. But we're not pouring into each other because people see us like, you're an adult. Forget about you. You got your thing. But we're like, you're not taking care. But we're not even taking care of the kids.
Well, I kind of want to flip the script on this a little bit as we wrap up the show and talk about.
Sorry, dude.
No, you're good. What?
Oh, I'm sitting here bloviating. It's like crap. We are on a time limit.
No, and you're good. No, I don't care about that. It's because it's early enough. But I grew up. We were the end of the no phones. Like in school, phones weren't a thing until. I don't know, how was it, 8th grade, 7th grade, something like that?
Right. Yep.
So I saw using a calculator and actually using a textbook and being told you need this knowledge, to where we are today where you don't need the knowledge because it's all on your phone.
Absolutely.
So in order to teach a kid that's now at 6 years old on a tablet doing things far more advanced than I did at 6 years old, to be able to try and teach them the same things that I learned back, 25 years ago, it's mind-boggling how they already know. Like, oh no, there's this app, and they can literally sit there and show you what they use for it. But do they need it? No, because they can sit there and put a selfie on Instagram and get paid thousands of dollars for it if they have the following.
Ugh.
You know what I'm saying? I hate to say that, but that's literally the mindset of this generation of kids. Like a majority of them. I don't want to say all of them. And it's scary that that's the way it's going. But they're becoming more lazy.
Mm-hmm.
And because they can be.
Oh, I'm going to be an influencer.
Yeah. And what is that? What is an influencer? Oh, I take selfies every day and people like my stuff, so I get paid for it.
I give food to homeless people and I take pictures of it. Oh, you're just horrible. You're not influencing anything. You're just a terrible, terrible person.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is the money's going to the wrong places. Just like you guys are saying. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I don't think that there is a way to control it at this point. Unless you shut down social media altogether. I mean, there's really no other way to do it.
I don't know, man. I think we need to hit a reset button on humanity, but I don't mean like just wipe everything out. There's a whole conspiracy theory behind that anyway, but I mean just down to our core being. Because like Evolution asked a question about the teachers. That's massive, dude. That's the kind of stuff we need to be thinking about. Yeah. I don't need to be thinking about, what did Oprah say about this thing? Who gives a shit? I don't care. Like, whatever, dude. Oprah, fine. Good for you. No, what I need to care about is like, down the street where I live here, right? There's a family living in a dilapidated home, right? Do they have enough food? Right. That's what I need to be worrying about.
Right.
That's the stuff. That's the good. That's the meat. What are we doing with our teachers? Do they have the tools they need to influence our kids to be the best versions of themselves and have a generation that's better than the one before them? And,
yeah. Well, these kids that are all over social media don't see the kids who aren't. There's a lot of them that are out there struggling and have none of this, none of the things that a lot of us have privileged our children with. And they just don't see it. What do you got, Evolution, before we wrap this up, man?
Well, I know how I came up. I had to put my back into work and my hands to work physically. Now, people are doing this and this. It's a big difference. How do you, how can I explain what I did and how that was relevant when, like you said, jukebox, they are lazy. This is what they do, and this is how they make their money. That's a hard conversation to have.
Yeah.
It's like one person invented the wheel, one person invented the flame. You know what I mean?
Right.
How does the person with the wheel talk to the person with the flame who's over here eating cooked food and keeping warm?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's something that needs to be figured out. And whoever comes up with that result or solves that problem, they probably will be making $2 million in 2 minutes. But it's a continued effort,
right?
And hopefully, as a country, a society, we can get that resolved. But right now, everybody's just trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
it sucks.
It does. Yeah, and Sean, I really appreciate you coming on today, man. I always love having you on. Evolution, man. Welcome to the podcast game, man.
Thank you very much. Glad to be a part of it. Nice to meet you, Sean.
Hey, same to you, man. It was fun.
I really appreciate you having me on your show.
Yeah, of course, man. And I'm sure I'll have you on again. Sean, of course, I'll have you on again.
Oh, jukebox. Yeah.
send me a heart. I need a heart emoji, okay?
Click them hearts. Oh, my God.
Oh, man. That's a whole nother show.
It is.
To everybody that watched today, everybody that's going to be listening in later or watching later, I appreciate you guys. You're the reason why I do this. And, I just want everybody to know that through all our differences, we all have those simple things that we all do. And even through the direction that the show went today, and I think it went great, it still kind of hits that topic that we all have the similar things, the little simple things that we all do. And we need to see that, in the end of the day, we all need to see that, because a lot of those topics that I put up here, we all had an example. We all had something like, yeah, I definitely do that. It's because we do. We all do these stupid little things, and those stupid things can make somebody's day so much better. Just knowing that that's at the end of the day, we all have those things in common. So,
absolutely,
yeah. And until next time, everybody, we'll see you around.
Take care.